Hello, everyone. Coming up here on the Pro Wrestling Show, you see right here, Samoa Joe and CM Punk. They run it back 20 years later, as they had their match tonight on Collision. CM Punk and Samoa Joe down now for the Owen Cup Finals. We'll talk about it coming up and the outcome of how that match went down tonight. A lot going on tonight. Also, too, World Tag Team Champions FTR is in action against Bullet Club Cole. Juice Robinson and Juice Robinson and Jay White. We'll get there as well. Ricky Starr and versus Rick Powerhouse Hobbs. These two have a long feud going on. They're acquaintances and stuff. Once tag team partners, Powerhouse and Ricky Starr. Get it on later tonight. We'll talk about that as well. We get the pro wrestling show started right now here on Connect TV right now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Pro Wrestling Show. I'm your host, as always, King Diggs here. Glad you join us here on the Pro Wrestling Show. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect in our social medias on Facebook and on Twitter. Join in the conversation using the hashtag Pro Wrestling here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribing is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button right now on the Pro Wrestling Show. We're coming off the heels of Collision. As you saw right here, Collision was a so-so show, but hey, the action is speak for itself. So we're gonna get things started right now on the Pro Wrestling Show. We'll get things started with this. The man, the myth, the legend, CM Punk came out to start the opening of the show, and CM Punk had a lot to say. CM Punk talked about his battles with Samoa Joe way back when, back in the Ring of Honor days. They never feuded in WWE. I wish they would have when Joe and Punk were on two different leagues. They now coming back full running back now. But CM Punk looking to get that win from Samoa Joe tonight. He never defeated Samoa Joe in a one-on-one match. And CM Punk wants that victory, and he believes that he's the one after all 20 years to get that sweet victory that he so richly deserved. So we'll get to see that later on tonight. But CM Punk came on tonight wishing that he wants to be Samoa Joe, but he'll get that chance later on in tonight's main event. Well, we get things started with the Owen Cup Finals. We know Punk and Joe will be the semifinals. They'll be later on tonight. Well, we start off with Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs, who know each other. They both was in Team Taz. They was under the helm and under the tutelage of Taz. Powerhouse Hobbs with his power, grit, and strength against Ricky Starks with his speed and agility. Ricky Starks and Powerhouse Hobbs know each other. They was once tag team partners, and Ricky Starks found a way to win. Ricky Starks defeated Powerhouse Hobbs, and Ricky Starks gets his victory. Ricky Starks advances on to the finals. Ricky Starks inching closer to becoming an on card winner, but he has to wait and see who he will meet one on one, either be Samoa Joe or CM Punk. So that'd be the question. But after the match, Powerhouse Hobbs was frustrated. Hobbs was frustrated that his own manager, QT Marshall and company, didn't have his back. And Powerhouse Hobbs, seeing the light, that he wants to tear up QT Marshall. QT Marshall really had to excuse himself and kind of explain himself. He was trying to get the referee's attention to count the pinfall for Powerhouse Hobbs on Ricky Starks, but the referee Aubrey Edwards was so busy trying to focus on QT Marshall that she really didn't pay attention to Hobbs. So I guess there's some tension going on between QDTV and Powerhouse Hobbs, and they be on the same page. We just have to wait and see on that one. Well, we know this: FTR taking on Juice Robinson and Jay White. Well, we know this: it's a non-title match, but the non-title match was this. I guess it's Juice and and Jay White won, they would get opportunity for the World Tag Team titles. They did. They defeated the Tag Team Champions, and the Tag Team Champions wanted to give them a match for next week. So we know the match next week will be 2 out of 3 falls. They're gonna run it back. 2 out of 3 falls match for the World Tag Team titles next week on Collision. So we'll get to see that match coming up next week. So look forward to seeing that match. 2 out of 3 falls. It might be the beginning of next week's show. We see CM Punk and company taking over Collision and making Collision their own show rather than Dynamite. So Bullet Club Gold could be one step closer of winning World Tag Team Gold sooner rather than later, if that be the possibility coming up next week. All right. Speaking of that, Andrade Ego sent a message to Malachi Black. We know their days in WWE when Malachi and Andrade used to kind of, you know, attack each other. But now these two men want to sell their differences in the ring, and they could sell their differences sometime in the near future. We just don't know when. But whenever Tony Khan's going to sign it, we'll have to wait and see on that. Because I know Malachi Black even been stalking Andrade lately, trying to get Andrade's head. We don't know what that's going to lead to, so we just have to wait and see on that. Also, too, was this. We know Julia Hart. Speaking of that, Julia Hart was in action. Speaking of Malachi's protege, she was in action, and she destroyed you know who. Destroyed her in 2 minutes and less. So Julia Hart trying to get something going. We know this tonight was supposed to be Athena versus Willow. That match has been postponed after Willow has an injury, but the match will be postponed for Rampage. So Athena versus Willow next week. So we'll get to see that match coming up as well. Well, it was the main event: CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. For the first time in nearly 20 years, CM Punk versus Joe. CM Punk wants to prove that he can take down Joe. Joe said he wants to take down Punk. I think that what led to Joe came out with the offense and stuff with CM Punk trying to do offense at first. We see CM Punk doing the offense, trying to take down Joe. Joe and CM Punk running it back through that Ring of Honor days nearly 20 years ago. We get to see that match heading towards that way. Well, we saw that CM Punk found the way to win. He defeated Samoa Joe in the first time. I felt like they should have saved that match for like a bigger show, and I think they're just doing that on the fly. I think they say wrestlers shouldn't be bookers, but sometimes they have to be. I think Tony Khan ain't really looking at the open picture, the big picture. I think CM Punk should let Joe defeat him. Then when you go to Wembley, then you get that win. They just wasted that. I think wrestling kind of wasting stuff like the bloodline and stuff with Roman getting pinned like that. You gotta say big moments like that for bigger shows, not for like, a standoff show. Well, at the end, Samoa Joe tried to show a sign of respect to CM Punk. CM Punk fell for the old okie doke, what they did back 20 years ago. CM Punk and Samoa Joe. You see CM Punk wearing his black Owen Hart trunks. But 20 years later, it's a different story. CM Punk did not see this coming. Samoa Joe defied the concluded clutch and put the concluded clutch on Punk, leaving Punk out and helpless. And you saw right there, CM Punk was choking, and that ended the show. But we now know next week will be CM Punk versus Ricky Starks for the finals of the Owen Cup. Will Ricky Starks get that opportunity of a lifetime? And Ricky Starks, will he be the one to punch his ticket to win the Owen Cup? Only time will tell. Or will CM Punk be the one to finally win the Owen? A lot of questions to be answered, but I never saw two baby faces battling for the Owen Cup Classic. and we'll get to see it next week on Collision. So hey, how that be? All right, that ends the Collision Ring Report. We'll move quickly to the wrestling hot topics as we know this. We found out that on Impact, Steve Macklin, former Impact champion, suffered a serious injury on the Impact tour in Australia, but he's unable to participate in Slammiversary for Bullet Ray's partner, and he will be announced this week on Busted Open. We don't know details. We know Devon ain't gonna wrestle, but we'll see they're gonna pick. Maybe one of those pupils that Bullet Ray got, but we have to wait and see on that. Well, we told you Tony Khan said this: due to suffering this week in Japan, Willow isn't clear to compete on tonight's Collision for the Cup, but it'll be rescheduled for Rampage to give her an opportunity to get cleared. So we told you that. Miro, um, Miro came out there. He had a lot to say. Just being Miro, Miro talking about God again, and we just wait and see on what that God can be. Whatever that be. We know this next week on Collision. We have the AEW Tag Team titles in a 2 out of 3 falls match. The champions FTR defends against Juice Robinson, Jay White, who got the victory earlier tonight. So Juice Robinson and Jay White, they continue that momentum. They could be the next World Tag Team champions sooner rather than later as well. Also, too, the On Women's Cup finals will have Athena versus Willow on Rampage, and then we'll have the finals between Ruby Soho and Blue Sky Blue, and then we'll have for Dynamite, and then we'll have the finals for that match as well for the next week. In the Orange Cup finals, some more CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. Looking forward to seeing that match. Um, we just have to wait and see how this is going to play out eventually when Ricky Starks and CM Punk. So we have to wait and see. All right. We just found out that MLW crowned the new world champion, Alex Kane. He really ain't gonna do nothing, but hey, they feel like something's gonna go down. All right, we're gonna end that right there on the Pro Wrestling Show for the Collision Ring Report, AEW version. We're gonna end it with Samoa Joe making CM Punk choke out and pass out. I've been your host, Kendrick Dick, saying so long. Thank you for watching the AEW Collision Ring Report. We'll see you this Monday for the Raw Ring Report to kick off the week. See you later.